Kyle Lamb with Viking Tactics. I'm a veteran of U.S. Army Special Operations. That's what I did for most of my adult life. Got out of the military back in 2007, started running Viking Tactics. While I was in the military, I was an assaulter, a sniper, assault team leader, sniper team leader, and then also a shooting instructor at some of the highest levels of special operations. So this isn't something that I read in a book. This is something that we've actually lived, and I want to try to pass some of those lessons learned on to you. When it comes to using a handheld light at night with your pistol, there's a lot of little tricks that we can do. A lot of folks are just going to grab their light. They're either going to put it by their head so they can get shot in the face, or they're going to hold it up, which is fine too, trying to keep those bullets away from their head. I like to be able to use that firing hand and that non-firing hand together just like I would during the day. So a couple of techniques. One is we're going to grab that light. We're going to bring that light underneath of our hand. Okay, you've all seen that. Some guys say go over the top. I don't like that because there's a chance that your slide can come back and hit your hand. There's a couple other techniques out there that I really like better than that. One is I'm taking the light and I'm just holding it like such. So I'm pinching it between my index finger and my thumb. And when I put that light against my pistol, I can still put my fingers around to hold onto my pistol. And then I just take my thumb and I push to activate the light using the tail cap. Okay, this allows me, one, to hang on to the light really well, hang on to the pistol really well. But the problem I'm going to run into is if it's time to reload, I've got to hold that weapon light in my hand. So what I do to change that up is I've got this little bungee that I've attached to my light. This light here, it has a scout head, so it's a little bit tighter. With this light, I can do the same hold. Now all I do is put that bungee around my finger. When I come up to shoot with both hands, I can still grip, and now my thumb goes to the back of my light. But if I've got to do a reload, if for some reason I let go of that light, I'm not going to lose that light. One technique I also like to use, I'll put my fingers through my bungee, and there, I'm just going to take my light, activate it, and then I'm going to take my pinky and hook it against my fingers, and that's how I'm going to force my hands together to control recoil and still have a relatively good shooting position. Up until recently, those were pretty much all the positions I used. A guy named Todd, Todd Moriarty showed me a position, and he said it was Jimmy, one of his buddies, had come up with this position, and I thought, another syringe position. I'm not really a big fan of that, but what he does is he grips his weapon light, he grips his handheld light in a syringe technique, and then he simply uses the back of his hand to activate that light. You've all seen that where guys are shooting with their hands together. The difference here is when he squeezes that light, he forms that little socket. He simply then takes his thumb and puts it in that socket, and he shoots from that position. So it's going to look something like this, where I come together, my thumb goes in that socket, and I'm telling you, this position probably works better for shooting quickly than any other light position I've seen other than actually using a weapons mounted light. My hand is going to be slightly turned, but I also like this because I can still push the weapon out just as far as I would like to, whereas with some of the other positions, I can't get my hands out as far from my face as I would, so your sight picture doesn't look the same as it does during the daylight. With this, the position works well. For him, he can still reload pretty fast from that position. It's something I probably ought to spend a little bit more time practicing. If I was an LE guy out there, I'm a law enforcement officer, I've got to do a search. Holding the light like this, it doesn't look real comfortable, and it's not. However, if I'm in this position, I can go in and I can do a search of a building, and if all of a sudden I have to go to my pistol because I don't want you walking around a building searching with your pistol mounted light, I just don't think that's good. I know I would be slightly offended if you came and searched my house and you were using your pistol mounted light, especially if my family's there. So with this technique, either from the holster or in the low ready position, I can do my search. If it's time for me to transition, I can simply grab that firearm, I can come up and use my weapon mounted light for that. So for you LE guys especially, that's something I would consider. This bungee works pretty well. It doesn't really matter what size the light is. You can take whatever big light you have. So with the bungee, what I've done is just overhand knots with a piece of bungee that I bought at a local outdoor store. I make that pretty snug so I can just slip 2 fingers through it. If you only want to use 1 finger, by all means do that, as long as you can get to that button and be able to use momentary. I do not like a constant on very often, so what I normally do is I'm pushing on the outsides of this light, I'm not pushing in the center. If I push on the outside, no matter how hard I push, the light doesn't stay on. If I push in the center, you can see I can turn that light on, it'll stay on. So that's another reason I like that protected tail cap. Some of y'all don't, but this is my light and that's how I rig it.